Hello everybody and welcome to a brand new Elder Scrolls Online build video with me, Sherman. Today guys, we are taking a look at the first basic build I will be releasing for the Wrathstone DLC, or Wrathstone DLC. And just to give a heads up on what a basic build is just that. It is a build that is so basic, it's not even funny. This build uses no CP. It is strictly a build that uses gear sets, food, and stuff to get you to the right stat values, so this way you can have a good set amount of stats to help you get started with dungeons. So this is the first one. This is the Knight. This is a Templar tank build to help you get started getting into doing dungeons. You can use this in normal mode or even veteran mode in most cases. Veteran, it might be a little iffy on DLC dungeons because it'll work, but it doesn't have a lot of the tools that you're going to need to do the DLC dungeons. So let's go ahead and get into it. Taking a look at the stat page, we are a Imperial Templar. Now Imperial isn't the best. The reason I chose Imperial was because it has really good sustain, and it makes it easy to self-sustain on a beginner build. So, as you can see, we do have 14,000 max magicka, 35k health, 20k stamina, and 1,004 magicka recovery. And like I said, this build is made to get started in dungeons. It's not made to do veteran mode, hardcore, or hard mode dungeons. It's to help you get started in normal and veteran dungeons until you can get the rest of the gear you need to move into more of an advanced build. Our magic recovery is coming in at 1,004. Our health recovery is kind of low, but that's fine. We got healers for that, and we got a 514 stam recovery. Weapon damage, weapon critical, all that stuff is going to be really low for a basic build, so we're not too worried about that stuff. Moving on to spell resist, we have 545 spell resist with a 21,905 physical, and that's unbuffed. Buffed up, we actually get a lot higher. We go to 32 and 29. We are running the Lady Wrathstone, and this is where we're going to get that boost of resistances. That's going to carry us up to a higher resistance value. We do have tri-stat food. That's normal for most tanks of any level to use tri-stat food, so make sure you have at least tri-stat food if you're going to tank. The Lady Wrathstone, again, really good for getting those resistances higher. And this is if you don't have CP, guys, and you're not wearing like a monster set. Moving on to gear. Now, the two 5-piece sets that I chose to wear with this are really good in combination, and that is Plague Doctors. And Plague Doctors is just going to give you a lot of health. As a tank, having really good health is really important. It also gives you 4% healing taken, which also applies to any heals you receive, so that's beneficial. The next set we're running is the Akavari Dragon Guard. This is going to give you magic recovery, it's going to give you some healing taken, it's going to give you some max health, and it's also going to reduce the cost of your ultimate abilities by 15%. So, really good for starter tanks is these two sets in combination. There's a lot of combinations you can use, which I'll get into with other builds, but for now, these two sets are what I would recommend any new tank to use. Moving on to the jewelry. We are running 3 pieces of Plague Doctor jewelry here. 2 shield play enchants, 1 recovery. If you can infuse the jewelry, do it. This is going to give you the better magic recovery. If you don't infuse it, don't worry. You can just use a basic mag recovery glyph here. It'll help. Now moving on to the final sets that we are using, and this is where things get, where people will say, well, you could use this or you could use this. I prefer using these sets because they're easy to get a hold of and they just work really well. So on the weapons, we are using The Sword and Shield of Endurance, this is going to give us, as you can see, with the 2-piece bonus, because it's considered using 2 pieces because we are on the sword and board, but even the staff is endurance. And this will just give us an extra amount of health, which does get affected by our Undaunted passive. So, and this build is using the Undaunted passive, guys. So, but that's not too hard to get. Just play dungeons on normal difficulty and you'll get the Undaunted passive pretty quick. And all you have to do is play through the base game dungeons on normal with no normal difficulty and play the story and get the Undaunted or Undaunted XP stuff from doing it on the story mode. And like I said, we are using an Ice Staff of Endurance. So let's go over the traits real quick and the enchants that we're running. On the helm, we are running a sturdy. In fact, every piece except for the chest and legs are sturdy. So the chest and legs are infused with max health. The rest of it is sturdy, as you can see. The helm, chest, and legs are all running max health. The gloves, shoulders, boots, and belt are all running max stamina. And this is just to help boost your stamina pool. So with other races, you will have a lower stamina pool, but always try to get your max health to about between 30 and 35k as a starting tank. And then get your stamina pool as close to 20k as possible. Your max magicka, as long as it's around 13, I would say 12 to 14k, you're in a good place to get started. So, and then moving on to the jewelry, we are running 2 shield play enchants. This is going to give you block cost reduction and bash cost reduction. And then the necklace is going to give you mag recovery. And like I said, you don't have to infuse this. You can go with a healthy here and go with a just a regular basic mag recovery. On the weapons, we are using a max health on the shield. You can use a tri-stack glyph if you can afford one, or you can use anything really. On the sword, we are using a weakening decisive weapon. You don't have to use this. You can use whatever trait you want that fits your playstyle. I just find decisive really works to help build ultimate. And then on the staff, I use an infused crusher with the endurance staff. This just makes it a lot easier. Like I said, if you're starting out as a tank, these sets are really easy to get a hold of in this setup. Getting the helm and shoulders in the dragon is super cheap. The gauntlets, the boots, and the belt are going to be the more expensive one. And then the chest and legs of the Plague Doctor are going to be kind of expensive. Getting the jewelry is really easy if you just farm the dolmens in Deshawn. And so here's where the sets drop. Plague Doctor drops in Deshawn. And you can get the chest and the legs from world bosses or from chests in that location. Jewelry you can get from doing dolmens and chests. And then the endurance stuff, just buy it from the guild traders. It's usually pretty cheap on the guild traders. And then when you farm out Akavari drops in the East March area. And it's actually pretty easy to get a hold of. You can get the boots and gauntlets, I think it is, from Delves. You get the belt and the shoulders from doing the public dungeon. And I think you can get the helm from doing the public dungeon as well. But you can get this stuff also from guild. Any of this stuff can be purchased on guild traders. You do not have to make it gold either. You can use purple quality gear or even blue quality gear to get started in normal dungeons until you can get a hold of like an Eben set and some of the other things like monster sets and things like that. You don't have to use gold quality. I just did this just for this purpose, just to show you what the max potential is of this. Now, when it comes to food, use tri-stat food, and then when it comes to potions, try potions. Now remember, I have no CP spent on this character. This character is strictly, like I said, this is like for beginner players that are wanting to learn to tank, starting at any level. You can do this at any level. As long as you can get a hold of these sets, you can do this at any level. But usually what I do is I wait until I'm CP 160, so I can just put together the build and I can start working towards getting better dungeon gear. I'll just play this type of a build to do that until I can get like a full set of Abin. I can craft a Torag's Pact, which I can craft anything, so or I'll craft myself something to get myself started. But this is, like I said, the easiest way to get started is this setup. So let's go ahead and move on to skills. So you don't have to get all your passives, but if you can, try to get all your class passives and have them unlocked by the time you're CP 160. This way you have access to more abilities that you can use in the long run. You will have to do Battlegrounds. I would suggest doing Battlegrounds while you're leveling. This way you can unlock your Alliance War stuff. And I would also do dungeons on, like, when you unlock them, start doing them on the story mode so you can unlock the Undaunted stuff. Start doing them as soon as you can. When it comes to your weapon passives, make sure you unlock all your Sword and Board and Destruction Staff passives. Armor, light armor, get the top 3 just to be safe. And the medium armor, get the top 2 and the bottom 1. I just went ahead and unlocked this one, even though I don't really need it. But it is one you can unlock. And heavy armor, you want to get all the passives. Try to always have at least 1 light, 1 medium equipped if you can. If you don't have this particular build, but you're using a different build, try to always have a light and medium armor equipped. If you can't, it's fine to work on those later, because it won't take long to level them most of the time. Soul magic is something else I like to do, so I like to do what's called the main story. It's basically the Harborage quest. I like to get those out of the way so I can unlock my stuff for the soul magic, but you don't have to. When it comes to Fighters Guild and Mages Guild, they're not necessarily something you need to unlock, but I would start working on them as soon as you can. As soon as you can unlock doing the Mages Guild and Fighters Guild, start doing them and start doing the quests for them so you can start working towards that XP towards it. And we'll go over the skills with that as well. Psijic Order is another one I would do. This Psijic Order quest line just to get Deep Thoughts, just in case you might need it if you have issues with resource management and stuff. But in normal mode, you shouldn't really have that many issues. Moving on to Undaunted. As you progress through the game, make sure you unlock these 2. These are the 2 most important. Inner Rage is going to be really good for later on, for ranged taunting. Alliance War, this is something, like I said, you can work on while you're progressing your character, and we'll go over why it's good. But make sure that if you do this, to try and get these as high as possible so you can get the Magic Aid, you can unlock Reviving Barrier, you can unlock Aggressive Warhorn, and Resolving Vigor. Racial passives, you should be at 50 when you hit 50, so this should be maxed out. Alchemy, Medicinal Use, and Provisioning, Gourmet, and Connoisseur. Now, you won't most likely have these maxed out, but if you can, try to max these out as quickly as you can, so you have their benefits. Now, moving on to the skills. And I'm sorry I'm coughing, guys. I'm trying not to. But let's go ahead and go over the skills. Starting with the main skill on the front bar, we do have Pierce Armor. If you do not have this skill unlocked, the base skill, Puncture, is fine. That'll carry you and get you started. The next ability we have is Heroic Slash. Again, low slash is fine, but as soon as you can morph this in a Heroic Slash, do that to work towards unlocking more of the skills. The next skill we have here, and the reason we have Pierce Armor here is this is a taunt, and it does a little bit of damage. With the base skill, you'll get Major Fracture, which does which reduces the physical resist by 5,280. But with Pierce Armor, you also get Major Breach. So Next ability we have is Heroic Slash. Again, we have this here for the movement speed reduction and the minor maim. And with Heroic Slash, you'll get major or minor heroism. With just low slash, you get the minor maim, the movement speed reduction, and a little bit of damage. Next ability we have is Sun Shield morphed into Blazing Shield. Now, Sun Shield will be fine until you can morph it. Once you get it morphed, I would suggest going Blazing Shield. This is going to help with DPS in dungeons. And anything you can do to help your group complete content faster, besides doing negative debuffing and all that kind of stuff, use this. Next ability we have is Resolving Vigor. If you do not have Resolving Vigor, the next ability I would suggest using is Honor the Dead. Now, Honor the Dead has a greater chance of applying it to you and not your allies. But both of them are like a self-heal. And this one uses Magicka, so be careful because it does burn through quite a bit of Magicka, because it costs a lot. So be very careful when using this in a group setting. That's one of the reasons why I prefer using the Salt skill, Resolving Vigor, is because it's just a really quick, easy heal, and it uses less stamina, so you can actually keep this up quite a bit while you're in a dungeon. As you can see too, it also heals you for, it'll heal you for more than your allies. But next skill we have is Defensive Posture. Again, morph it into Absorb Magicka. You don't have to morph it at all if you don't want to. The main reason why we have this here is while slotted, you get 8% block cost reduction, and you also block an additional 8% damage. So, really, really important. Next ability we have is Reviving Barrier. Now, again, this is an assault skill from the Alliance War. Sorry, support skill from the Alliance War. If you don't have that, I would suggest using Aedric Spear Radiant Sweep. This is going to give you a way to do some damage, but also you can get a morph that'll actually give you some damage reduction. Another skill you can use is the Dawn's Wraith Nova and morph it into the other one. You'll never really use these abilities, to be honest. The main reasons why you'll have them here is for like passives and stuff like that. Alright, moving on to the back bar. But Reviving Barrier is by far going to be your best option because of the support passive Magical Aid. Moving on to the back bar. Back here we have Silver Leash. Now a lot of people are going to say you don't have a ranged taunt. Ice Staff has a ranged taunt built into it, and you're going to have to become comfortable with using an Ice Staff anyways. This is a good way to get used to it, is using the ranged taunt from it. So get used to using that. It's basically just the heavy attack. So just heavy attack, and you get a taunt, and you get a small shield, which is kind of nice. But Silver Leash, we have this here to pull enemies to us. It also puts a minor snare on them, which reduces their movement speed by 40% for 4 seconds, which is really nice because if you pull an enemy to you, for example, you can put down your Wall of Elements, and they will be affected by CC immunity after this has hit them, but if they become chilled while they're in it, you can also immobilize them for 4 seconds. So it's really nice to do both, to keep them in the wall, all that stuff. Next ability we have is Power of the Light. Now, this one is a questionable one. You don't really need it, but it is a good one to have because it does do help your group with damage. Not only by applying Minor Fracture and Minor Breach, but also it stacks damage. So as the enemy's taking damage, it will actually take a lot more when this ability ends. And this allows you to build some ultimate. Next ability we have is Ritual of Retribution. This is just a really good, like, safety net ability. This removes negative effects. It puts a small heal on you and your allies, and it does a little bit of damage. So it's just a good ability to have overall. Next ability we have is Restoring Focus, and we have this here mainly to apply Major Ward, Major Resolve to ourselves, giving us spell and physical resist bonus of 5,280. This is our main resistance buff. It also gives us stamina back. If you don't have this morphed yet, Ruin Focus is fine. It'll still give you the Major Ward, Major Resolve, and the 50% resistances. It just won't give you stamina back. And last but not least is Aggressive Warhorn. You can even just use Warhorn. Warhorn will give your group max magic and max stamina, but it's a good way to help you also work on leveling it while you're doing dungeons by doing the quests in those dungeons. So as you can see with Aggressive Warhorn though, you and your allies also gain Major Force, increasing critical damage done by 15% for 9 seconds. So that is all the skills, all the gear and equipment and everything. And like I said, if you don't have CP, this build will work fine. If you have just the CP 160, I'm gonna try and remember how I do this at CP 160, because it's you have a very limited amount of points, but I think it's something like 27. It's like 27, because you'll have like 52 points in each tree almost to get to CP 160. It's like 54 in 2 of them, and then 52 in the last one. But basically, the things you want to focus on are Hardy, Elemental Defender in the beginning, and then in the green tree, you want to focus on these, the recovery ones, or on blocking, block cost reduction. So any of those you want to focus on, you can. And then in the blue tree, I would start in the middle here, so this way you can unlock Reposit. Don't worry about focusing on Mighty or like Blessed and Elfborn. Focus on this middle tree so you can get Reposit, because Reposit's going to play a major role with you later on. So, but yeah, work on doing that stuff in the beginning, and as you progress your character, then start adding points to the other CP locations that are going to best benefit you for whatever role you're playing. In this case, a tank. Focus on the tanking CP. There is several guides out there on how to play CP points, and I have them. I know Outcast does them. I think Raging God has done a few, and I know Zynode's done some. Drownsy and Dots Gaming. A lot of us have guides out there showing how to play CP and allocating your CP as you're progressing. So check some of those videos out, and yeah. But that is pretty much the Knight tank build, guys. I know a lot of people are going, well, that doesn't really explain a whole lot. It's not meant to. It's a basic guide for tanking. That's it. So, and this will help you really get started with the tanking aspects of the game. So this is just a good gear setup to get started with. And then once you start unlocking CP, your stats will start going up as well. So once you get to CP 160, you'll go up by, or CP 300, and you have 100 points spent in each tree, each of your stats will go up by 20%. So, but by then you should be working on an advanced build or a in-game build. So, but that's it for this build, guys. I hope you guys like it. I hope that was informative and it helped you guys understand a little bit about the basics of tanking, like build-wise, not play-wise, but, you know, like what gear will work, how you need to set your stats, that kind of thing, what skills to use, so you guys can get started. So, but that's it. So, you guys know what's coming next. If you guys like this video, hit that like button. If you guys want to see more videos by me, please subscribe. Other than that, I want to thank you all for watching. Until next time, have a wonderful day. And this guy might see you in game. Bye.